Hello everyone, my name is TJ and welcome to my LEGO room, and today is pretty exciting because it begins the voting phase of the repulsor lift racing contest. This one has to do with the array version of repulsor lifts, and I'm pretty excited because we've got 19 entries in this section of the contest. We've gradually whittled them down a little bit. And that's to be expected because, as more people win each time, less people will be able to enter over time. But you guys have done amazing. It's been such a fun thing. A couple of things we are going to go over this time. What I've decided to do is we are going to reduce the number of builds that you can vote for. We're going to knock it down to 4 now. That's because we dropped below the 20 entry threshold that allowed us to do the 5 options for everybody. So now everybody's going to pick 4 of their favorite mocs, or their top 4. If I was like a Simpsons character or a Phineas and Ferb character, I guess I would hold up my thumb as well, but I'm not. So we're going to vote for our top 4, and then we're going to go ahead and leave those in the comments below. That worked out really well last time. At the end of this phase of the voting, then we're going to have about a week, which I think will be enough time for me to select the top 3, the finale winners. So that's going to be pretty exciting. So next week, we will announce the winners of the voting for this week, and then we'll begin the final voting between the 9 entries, 3 from each of the sections. Okay? Clear? Everybody good? All right. Let's jump into the mocs, all right? All right. So first up is Dale's Prometheus. This is the array version of his Prometheus build. For those of you who've been part of the contest for a while, you'll know that Dale has actually done a modular repulsor lift, and each time he has changed the repulsors on it to qualify for each contest, which is pretty cool. Dale's done a very good job, and what he ended up doing is using those boat tiles underneath as the representative arrays for it, which I'm pretty excited for. All right, then, here's a nice top view as well. Sorry. He actually has beautiful combination of parts on this, so great job, Dale. And it looks fun too. I was a fan of that. All right, next up we have Adrian's HP S2 Scorpion. Whew, I really love the setting that he put it in. He put it outside. It's got dusty, but that's what happens. That happens with Lego. Like, I'm sure you guys have noticed in some of my videos. Excuse me, losing my voice. I also have dusty stuff, so it happens. Not a big deal. But here, it's supposed to be dusty because it's outside. This is a really cool looking racer. He built a couple different versions of it. One is like a stock version, and then we have the racing version, which is pretty freaking cool. I really just love how sleek this racer is. It's got some cool storage sections right in front of the driver. Even the pilot area and the controls are very good looking, and it looks like this would be a really fun thing to drive. So great job, Adrian. I have messed up already, like I do every time I do these. So Dale was number 1. Adrian here was number 2. Alrighty. All right, next is number 3. This is Ragged's Coruscant Racer. I really liked the shape of it. It reminded me of Coruscant. He didn't say it was Coruscant, but I thought it looked like one of those really awesome Coruscant speeders like Anakin took to Chancellor Palpatine's office when Mace Windu was arresting him. It looks a little bit like that speeder, and so I'm proud of it. This is really cool. I always love using those large round pieces. He does a really good job on that. And then it's got massive engines underneath, and then the repulsors are just on the outside of those engines as well. It's got a nice little pod. Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice this. Okay, Ragged, you're amazing. This is actually a handicap accessible racer. That's so cool. I never even thought of doing that. We don't see a lot of that in Star Wars, and I think there's a couple reasons for that. Number 1, we see a lot of people with repulsor lift chairs, like Anakin's stepfather, Lars. I can't remember his name suddenly. All of a sudden, I'm like Watto. I'm like Lars. At least I think it was Lars. But the other one is that they have robot aesthetic or appendages. for people who have lost limbs, like we see with Luke's hand or Darth Maul's legs. And I think those are two reasons why we don't see a lot of wheelchairs in Star Wars. But the repulsorless, you can kind of equate that to as well. But this is an awesome thing. So, hey, props, Ragged. That's really cool. I wouldn't have thought of doing that. Great job. The engines are pushed out to the max, which I always love. It's still not a pod racer though, and I'm happy about that. That's what we were going for, right? Anyway, all right, that was number 3. Number 4 here is Andrew's Destler Gish OM Racer. The OM is actually part of the name, the Destler Gish. I just ran out of room in the naming of it. But this is actually a really cool speeder. If I'm remembering properly, he kind of designed it to be like the Porsche Cayenne of the repulsor racers, which is pretty cool. It's got a lot of really neat angles and curves to it. And then I also really like, StarCraft started an update. I don't know why, but my StarCraft game on this computer keeps updating. Sorry. But this is a fantastic speeder. You were actually looking at the back end at the beginning there, and from the side view, you can actually see that that's the case. He did a really good job. I love that he put it right at the front of the speeder, which is not something that everybody does. We like to sit back. We think NASCAR, we think a really big front end, like a roadster kind of thing. And he put the pilot in the front, which is a novel idea. And then his repulsor lift underneath was actually a pretty cool idea, and having those things all in a row. I really liked it. Good job, Andrew. That was number 4. Number 5 is Benedex XJ AirTech Speeder. So this is, for those of you who are super familiar with Star Wars or with the prequels in general, you'll notice that this speeder is very much inspired by Episode 2 of Star Wars. However, I think this thing definitely goes beyond what the speeder Anakin took to save Obi-Wan in the beginning of the film, in the chase with Zam Wesell. This is pretty awesome. I think it's a really good adaptation. I think it's a really good addition and expanding on what was seen there. He actually built 2 versions. He built the orange and gray one first, and then he was like, I want to build a white and teal and gold one. So he did. I really like the back end of it. I really like the engines on the back, and then the I don't know if they're supposed to be like radiators or something on the back with those ingot pieces. That's great. And then underneath we have the double array repulsors in line. Very, very sleek, very beautiful ship. All right, next up, so that was number 5, Benedex airspeeder. Number 6 here is Phoenix's RA6 speeder, which is pretty fun. This is like a roadster. My understanding is he was inspired by Jerry Builds Bricks creation of some kind, or possibly just the channel in general. I watch Jerry Builds Bricks occasionally. Not exactly what specifically inspired this one, but something did. So this is number 6, Phoenix's RA6 speeder. Fantastic looking build. I love that it kind of evokes for the cockpit that old truck feel, which is pretty fun. And then underneath, it's got some wicked good repulsor arrays right down there. This thing would haul, right? Very awesome. And then, of course, the exhaust, the roadster exhausts on it, and the double engines on the back. Absolutely good job, Phoenix. Next up, we have Andrew's Andrew's 5H1T-BX Racer. If you want to spell that out, you might understand what he's talking about. But this is actually pretty cool because it used some different pieces than I'm used to on these builds. He used that bubble pod on the front, but then kind of overlapped it with another windscreen. I've never seen that done before. It's a really cool idea to kind of merge those together. It's got a nice little like droid tri-fighter feel on the back end of it, and then on the front it feels a little U-wingy, which is pretty sweet. I'm always a fan of the U-wing. And for how small it is, it actually looks like this thing would fit in really well. I love how long it is. I love it when people, push the boundaries of how long the ships were in this contest. There's one later that's even longer than this one, which is pretty cool. But then he used the grills as the arrays all along those front forks, which, hey, yeah, that's perfect. I really like the way that he decided to do that. Like almost making them like full appendages that are separate from the ship. He's like, slap as many of these suckers on as possible. It's pretty cool. And then, of course, we got all kinds of thrust exhausts on the back, because you can always use another engine, right? All right. Oh, here it is. Here's the one that's even longer. This is Rio. So that was number 7. Sorry. This is number 8, Rio's Silver Scorpion. And this ship is pretty freaking cool. It looks like he got some inspiration from pod racing, but it's almost there, to be honest. This is almost a pod racer, but it's not. It's not. I've decided that it's not, but it's close. We look underneath here, we can see the arrays on the side there, and then the engines up in the front. I'm guessing this probably would be inspired by pod racing, but it would still stick within the parameters of what the GALAGR racing authority would come up with as far as rules. Excuse me. Really cool looking ship, really fun looking ship, sleek, super long, which was, I like pushing the boundaries of that. And here it is without those extra engines on it. It turns and trims down into a pretty good-looking everyday speeder for like your common civilian. It's really a cool idea to have both versions. Anytime people did that, I took note. All right, so that was number 8. Number 9. This is a horrible picture to start with, but it shows you the array repulsors on the bottom, of which he has 5. This is Seth's big round array repulsor lift. Is that kind of a tongue twister? Seth's big round array repulsor lift. The big round array repulsor lift. Wow, yeah, not really, but it feels like it when you're saying it. All right, so that was the bottom. Here it is from the side. So this thing, I don't know, it feels a little bit like Ray's speeder that she had, which is pretty cool, where she sits kind of on top of it at the very back of it. It's almost like riding a big engine. However, the front of this thing is not an engine like Ray's speeder was. It's not just a giant engine. The whole front section here is actually just part of the speeder, and part of the mechanics and machinery is part of it. And repulsor lift generation, I'm sure. On the back here, we can see a few more images of the repulsors that are pointing down and pointing in a little bit, possibly to work off of each other, give it a very pinpoint spot on the ground that the repulsors hit, so that it's not gaining as much friction. Even though it's made up Star Wars technology, and that's not really a thing. Here we go from the front. We've got a little bit of a windscreen here, which is interesting. It's kind of like a wraparound thing, but again, it's like a little bit like the windscreen on Ray's speeder, right? It doesn't really do much. It's there more for decoration, like windscreens on 90% of the bullet bikes that we see out on the freeway. Here's a fun picture of it banking and turning, which is, hey, looks pretty awesome to me. You did a great job. Good job, Seth. All right, next up, we're going to zoom in here, is Liam's Buzzard Repulsor Racer. This is really fun. I always love it anytime I see these old trans-orange windscreens. They're pretty awesome. They do such a great job. And then on the top, not only does he have repulsor stuff on the bottom, but on the top here, he's got all those handlebars in a row. I'll tell you what, the array section of the repulsors is definitely one where people had the most freedom on how to design their own repulsor. And I got to say, you guys have really knocked it out of the park. All right, I'm going to probably have to speed it up a little bit because I'm running low on time and I can only record for so long. Here's the underside of his speeder. Oh, maybe the repulsor lifts are all mounted at the top and then just have to go through to the bottom. Or we can flip it around if need be. But I really just like the repulsors that he put on there, the sequence of those handlebars. So I'm counting it. It just looks so cool. It looks so cool. What a fun idea, right? I would have never thought of doing this, I don't think. It's just not something that would be in my wheelhouse to go like, oh, I'll use that piece. But fantastic job, Liam. Awesome. Next up, we have Kygo's Crimson Speed Demon. Now, this looks like a racer for sure. Look at that. Big old massive thing. We've got the big engines coming off the back. Maybe even a third one in the back here, or possibly just an exhaust. Another picture of the back, and he's got some really nice parts usage back there to get some of these angles. Very awesome. So this is number 11. This is Kygo's Crimson Speed Demon. He's even got some air brakes on the side, which is always a positive thing. Sorry, skipped ahead real quick. I tried to get about 4 to 6 pictures of each person. Sometimes I forget how many of each one I have. But next up we have Tortoise Brick's Yellow Speeder. I didn't know this, but Tortoise Bricks, when he entered each of these contests, he actually tried to use each of the primary colors, which is pretty cool. Red, yellow, blue. This is his Yellow Speeder, which is pretty awesome. And I don't know why when I saw the pig guy on there, I thought Peppa Pig for some reason. I think my kids are getting to me. But this is awesome. Also has the arrows on the front. Very important to tell everybody which way you're going and which way to look out for you. Oh, I'm going to be in front. It's a really awesome speeder. I really like the shaping of it. It's always fun. Whenever you use the fewer pieces, you tend to get interesting shapes that you can kind of build on over time. So that's one suggestion I'll give to everybody is don't just pick a build that already has all the cool stuff on it, but something that has the awesome potential that you think that it could be developed into for the final stock versions of those racers. Very awesome. So this is Tortoise Bricks Yellow Speeder. This is number 12, by the way, if I haven't said that already. Great job, dude. And here's the underside with the repulsors. He's got those in a row. Doing awesome. Way to go. All right, now this is number 13. This is Pasha's Bowhead Speeder, or Pasha. Sorry, it's another name. My bad. I'm bad at these things. I can't even. Never mind. I'm not going to talk about that now. All right, 13. So this is the Bowhead Speeder. Now, what he had said to me, full disclosure, is that technically it is 1 plate higher than 7 bricks, but if you take off the canopy on the top, then it's totally fine. Because those canopies are like double plate thickness, I think, for some reason. But this is a pretty cool looking speeder. It almost looks like a ship, which is pretty cool. But this front section of this engine doesn't close all the way, so it actually uses it like an air scoop, which is kind of fun. So even though in the first picture there it looks like it's popped up accidentally, that's actually completely deliberate. So this is again number 13. This is Pasha's Bowhead Speeder. It really is very sleek, and then you get underneath and it's got these awesome repulsor arrays and the greebles. Anytime you can combine a sleek ship and then like a section of greebles on some part of it that's exposed, I mean, that's what Minox Squadron was intended to be for me. So awesome job, Pasha. All right, next up is 14. This is Alex's Crimson Shadow. Now, this one is insane because I am not entirely sure how he got these angles. We'll probably see it easier on this screen. I looked at most of these on my phone when I was approving them. But let's see if we can figure it out, right? So the cockpit, I'm pretty sure it holds a minifig. Looks a little tight, but I'm sure it does. We've got 4 engines on here, 2 on the front, 2 small ones, probably for directional thrust, and then 2 on the back for more of your forceful thrust. It's pretty good. The underneath, he actually used those round Technic things. They're probably not Technic, but I know there used to be lights that would go in some of the light up electronic stuff. But he used a bunch of those upside down. In the bottom of his ship is the repulsor. Holy cow, that's awesome. Sorry, stifling a yawn. It is very early in the morning. The only part that I don't think that we will continue if this one makes it into the end and it makes it to the final, the only thing that I think I'm going to change is the R2 units on the front. Because even though they look wicked cool, I bet they have a wicked price tag too. So, but that's okay. The plain black ones are actually pretty easy to get, so not a huge issue. And maybe those are cheap. I don't know. I didn't actually look up the part price, but just know anything that's printed may be changed. The front of it actually goes into a pretty nice point on the front with a grill on the front, and then those spoiler pieces that just look so good. Awesome. Then the back of it, not an exhaust, unless you count each one of those. Ooh, each one of those fins could be like an exhaust out the back. That's a cool idea. I almost disqualified this one because I thought that was an engine, but upon closer inspection, I realized that that was just the back end of the ship. It almost got me, almost tricked me into not qualifying this ship, but I figured it out. All right. He's got some more pictures of it. It's just, the angles are pretty cool, and I couldn't see how he did them, so it'll be a surprise for everybody if we end up having to make instructions for that one. So that was 14. This is 15. This is Greeda's S4 Swordfish. Woo. This is a pretty cool looking ship. It actually started out as a civilian ship with only the 2 engines on the back, but then they added 2 more duplicates onto the front end and gave it a more aggressive angle on that front and the separation between the back engines and the main body of the airspeeder. Woo! Stifling yawns. But yeah, no, it's just fantastic. It's just a really good build, really solid. It doesn't use a ton of difficult to find pieces. At least not anymore. These dark red flaps on the back under those engines are a little easier to get thanks to LEGO re-releasing Obi-Wan's dark red starfighter. So that was a good one. But this is just, you know what? Sometimes all you can say is, that's a good build. And that's what I got to say here. And I even like the color. All right, so that's number 15. This is for Greeda. All right, number 16. This is Nate's Minox Zero. So he actually, his background for this tied into his name, which helps me remember it a little bit easier. And that is that this particular ship was built for Minox Squadron as a ground support. But then whoever ended up with it ended up taking it into the GALAGR circuit and doing quite well and making a name for themselves. Well, it's kind of a cool backstory. And at first I was like, Minox Zero, does he know I have a Minox Squadron? You can't call it Minox Zero. Oh, then reading does a buddy good. Very awesome ship. And I also like when they use those larger scaffolding pieces sideways. It just gives it so much, it feels like it has more detail, even though it has fewer parts. It's crazy, but they're very cool looking. You get a good back end look at the engine thrusters side. Like, this is a very thin ship too. Makes you think like a razor. It'll just cut through the air. And then the center engine section, the actual engine, it's really fun. It's got some cool pieces on there. A lot of interesting things to look at on this build, for sure. A lot of things to catch your eye, but at the same time, not so busy that you spend your entire time looking at individual parts and lose the shape of the ship. So it's a good balance. Good balance there, Nate. All right, that was number 16. Number 17 is Cory's TN13 Millennium Cougar. This is actually a pretty cool ship, if I do say so, like I say about everything. If you'll bear with me. This ship is awesome. Asymmetrical, check. Giant engines on the back, check. Not too big, though. Not too big engines. All kinds of little greebles and array repulsors. I'm not sure if those stud shooters are supposed to be the repulsors or not, but it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing. It's got all kinds of stuff on here, and this is called the Millennium Cougar. This is number 17. So you've got like a main pod on the left here, and then you've got like the machinery components on the right with an engine exhaust it pushed the boundary a little bit, but I'll allow it. I'll allow it this time. It looked good enough, and it didn't egregiously go over the 4 stud diameter rule. It was just a little bit because those wheels aren't perfectly 4 studs wide. I think that's reasonable. Plus, it looked cool, and I couldn't think of anything else you could possibly switch that with and actually have it still look as cool. So, good job. You tricked me, Cory. So that was number 17. Just all kinds of this. Now, this one, you can get lost inside it, but I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. But when you do things on purpose, whether this one is greebled to high heaven so that you have a lot of things to look at, or if the greebles are subtle and non-distracting, whichever direction it goes, I think that's a design choice. And both of them are good design choices. Just depends on what you're going for. Sorry if I make people feel bad for the choices they make. It's never my intention. As a matter of fact, I'm usually impressed by what you guys do. It's pretty awesome. This is a long video. I apologize. I should speed it up. We're only 2 away. So this is Emily's triple v-loath cat. Emily has entered all 3 phases of the contest and built some pretty awesome ships. This one had to do some quick redos on the repulsors because she put vanes on this one again, unfortunately, but still used the array section on the vane, so that's probably on me. Sorry about that, Emily, but hey, you fixed it in good time so that you could get this entered. I really like this little semi-gonk droid that's right here. It's actually a really cool design. I might have to do that myself. And then we got the droid actually sits up here on the back of the ship, I believe it is. And then we've got some of those array repulsors on the side, which is pretty awesome. And then here are Emily's other entrants into the contest. Doing a great job. Fantastic job, Emily. That was number 18. And finally, for number 19, we have Andrew's Horizon Hyper X. I think we've had more than one Andrew. We may have even had 3 Andrews. I apologize for that. But either way, this is the Hyper X. This was literally at the last minute came in, just right by the skin of his teeth on that one. I think I was finalizing all the entries, moving them into a specific folder. And as I was doing that, this one popped in just right at midnight. And I'm like, come on, I'm still working on it. I'll allow it. Plus, to Andrew's credit, I think he's the one who messaged me and was like, I thought we had more days to do this. So good job, dude. Fantastic job. The engines on the back are really cool using the ice skates. If you guys have watched my channel for a while, you know I'm a sucker for stripes. So the blue and white stripe on here is actually really cool. I'm pretty sure whatever ships we end up using for the finals, probably going to have stripes. And that way you can choose colors for those stripes and make your own version of those racers. And we'll put them all in on a contest together. Hinting towards something. All right. Another cool thing about this is it actually has some flaps on it. So we've got flaps on the side and then some flaps on top. Not sure if the top ones would do much for braking like the side ones do, but they could be repulsor lift like directors or possibly just directing vanes. Who knows? But that's Andrew's Horizon Hyper X. I got a couple other pictures here, I think, including some of the repulsors on this one, because this is another one that was slightly different. You guys came up with so many good ways to make the repulsors and using different pieces for it. I was shocked. And this one's actually pretty simple. You do have some greebling here on the bottom that can catch your eye and catch your attention. And I would love for the underside to actually be greebled up and have some mechanical feel to it. But in this one, it was super simple. Just throw some 2x2 round plates on there. Call it good. And honestly, that's exactly what I was looking for. Wanted to see what pieces you guys could use. So hope you guys are having a good one. So again, pick your top 4. Put them down in the comments below. And 1 week from today, including today, so we got 7 days. The polls close next Friday, so make sure you've got your votes in by next Friday, and we should be good to go. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing for the Christmas holiday and New Year's holidays yet, as far as the videos. I'm sure I'll have something to share with you guys. I'm sure I will. Anyway, I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and until we see you next time in TJ's Like a Room, play well. Bye.